Good morning. I'm going to ask our president to take a seat. Welcome to the third annual Spring Honors Symposium. My name is Matt Samra. I teach writing and literature courses here at KCC, and I'm also the lead faculty coordinator for the honors program. And we're grateful that you're here to celebrate these students and their achievements today. Got a couple of students coming in. They're not late. They were manning the front door, so thanks, Josh, Lucy, Berlynn. This is the third venue we've had in 3 years. We started out in the very intimate Kellogg room around the corner with 7 graduates 2 years ago. The second year we had to move to the Davidson Performing Arts facility. We had 10 graduates. This year we have 13, so we've gone to the major leagues over here in Binda. So I'm excited for you to hear from our students today and for them to share some highlights from their final projects in the honors program. Just to give you a sense of the format, we have set aside 5 minutes for each student to share some highlights from their individualized capstone project. So keep in mind that a lot more work went into what you see, right, than what you see up here. So you're always welcome to access the program and the full projects through the QR code, which I'll talk more about in a minute. Just some housekeeping issues as a courtesy to our student speakers today. Please silence your cell phones. We will have a new speaker every 7-8-ish minutes. So if you need to sneak out, use your phone or use the restrooms, which by the way are right around this corner, the east door here, 2 quick rights, and then the bathrooms are over here. You're welcome to take photographs of your graduate, your friend, family member. But I will say that we have a very accomplished photographer here. Simon Thelman, our digital marketing manager, has never taken a bad photo. And I will be sharing those photos with the 13 students, the cherubs in this front row here, all of whom are here, I think. Oh, there you are. Okay, good. Hope you join us for lunch immediately after the event. The students have picked the menu. Rest assured, it's not Hot Pockets and Skittles. It's a grown-up meal, I can assure you. We had to rein them in a little bit, but yeah. Unfortunately, there's no time for Q&A period after each presentation. I would love it if we could do that, but we would be here till Sunday if all of the students presented their full capstones. But please feel free to approach a student in the lobby. I'm not talking about for an autograph, but if you want to follow up with some questions, I think they'd appreciate that. And they've been warned that happens at this symposium. So I want to acknowledge a couple of folks and then some additional folks at the end of today's event. To my right is Tom DeVault, our manager of integrative learning. I so appreciate his assistance in pulling this event together. Thank you, Tom. Been a pleasure to work with. I also want to acknowledge our ASL interpreter, Sunny. Sunny. Thank you for being here and assisting as well. All right. Here are the 13 graduates this year. There's a good chance that you've either changed a diaper, one of these individuals, or read a book to them as a child, or perhaps paid their tuition, or Venmo'd them money at one point, but whatever supporting role you've taken in their lives, I know they appreciate it. We have many Gold Key scholars here. These are 2-year-old pictures, so many of them have changed, and a couple of these folks are no longer at KCC. They've either transferred, but most of them are here today, and you're going to get to hear their excellence and witness their excellence today as well. The Gold Key Scholarship is the highest honor we can bestow upon an incoming student here at KCC, and we're quite proud of this crew, this cohort. There are also some first-year honors students in attendance today doing some reconnaissance work to see what they're going to be into a year from now. Isidro, I'm looking at you. Thanks for coming. Also a Gold Key Scholar. So a little bit about the honors program at KCC. You need a 3.5 GPA to be admitted. You need to maintain a 3.2 GPA, and by that way, that admission requirement is for transfer credits, high school, and even if you've taken a semester of courses here, you can apply to the honors program at KCC. So we're really heavy in the social sciences right now and writing courses. English and literature, but we are trying to expand the menu, so to speak, so we have more math, science options, but we need more students to do that, so it's, so we don't want one to outpace the other. So we're looking to expand our selection of courses, honors courses. The second year, honors students complete the two-course sequence, Honors 110 and Honors 200. I'll talk to you more about that here in a second. But right now, you should know that these honor students have all kinds of enrichment opportunities. A couple years ago, Doug Mann, I asked him to recreate his architectural tour of Detroit, historical and architectural tour of Detroit. Here we are in Belle Isle. I think that's where the rum runners hung out during Prohibition in the 20s, but there's the skyline in the back, Canada to our left. It was a wonderful tour, and if you've been on this, it's phenomenal, just looking at all the different historical sites. We toured the Packard plant, we drove through it at least. It's a phenomenal opportunity for honor students. Last fall, actually in winter, I think December, we took a small cohort to the Lee Honors College, WMU. That is Kate Copland on the far right. That's not a student. She's our chair of social sciences, so she often is mistaken for a student. But I will say, well, take that for what it's worth, right? Run to the bank with that. We do have a representative here from Lee Honors College, Dr. Randy Ott. Where are you, Randy? Oh, one more time, hands up, Randy. If anyone is interested in transferring to Western or Lee Honors College, whether you're graduating this next week after rather, or a year from now, you might want to chat with Dr. Ott. And then just last month, Michelle Wright, who teaches honors history, took her course, her class, and a couple of my students to Chicago. We visited the Settlement House, Jane Addams Hull House on the near west side. And then we went to the Art Institute to walk off the deep dish pizza that we consumed. Here we are on the steps of the Art Institute. So all kinds of enrichment opportunities for honor students that are not typically available to ordinary path students. All right, so how did we get here today? The honor students in their second year signed up for the one-credit Honors 110 seminar with Professor Michelle Wright. In that course, they met monthly, maybe a couple times a month, I can't recall, but they learned research methodologies. They started looking at a question that relates to their field of study or discipline. They developed a guiding question, a topic, if you will, and then connected with some sort of faculty mentor who would guide them through their research. They started looking for sources. They compiled an annotated bibliography. They essentially laid the groundwork for the research they were doing for their capstone project. Michelle handed off the students to me in January, and that's when they refined the scope of their project, maybe filled in some evidence gaps. They also started drafting and polishing and revising their work. They had an option to do a multimedia presentation or a formal essay with research. Guess which one most of them picked? It wasn't the written assignment, I can tell you that, but a few of the brave souls did, so I commend them for that. All right, just another quick note on today's presentations. For the sake of time, we obviously have to give you abbreviated snapshots of these capstone projects, but if you are inclined to read a student's entire presentation or paper, the QR code will take you to those at a later date, or today, if you will, but hopefully you're not just reading them in the auditorium. All right, we have one accommodation request. Doug Mann on the far, you're right. His son is graduating from Michigan State University today with his PhD. So Diva Doug, as we are likely to call him, has requested special accommodations to go first. So this is justified in my mind. So Antonia Keith is first. Come on up, Antonia. Tony. So as you can see, Tony is a computer-aided drafting and design major from Charlotte. She's already been accepted to the product design engineering program at Ferris State University. Is that a fall transfer plan for you?
I'm planning to transfer next spring.
Next spring, good. Gold Key Scholar, member of the women's volleyball team, founder and president of the brand new Crochet Knitting Club. And I have a couple of notes on each student here, so bear with me. Tony was recently awarded the Registered Student Organization Officer of the Year Award for her work as the founder and leader of the Campus Knitting Club. However, perhaps Tony's most impressive accomplishment this year is her resolution to give up sugar and sweets for 8 months. How's that going, by the way?
Really good.
Is it? Okay, I don't believe you. All right. Tony's guiding question: what is the best or ideal house design to encourage positive family relations and interactions? And of course, her advisor, Douglas, the diva man, computer-aided drafting professor. Tony?
All right. Here is my first house plan. So what if I told you that this house plan is really not that good? Antonia, why? Antonia, why? Well, I'll tell you. So this house was done with minimal research. I had just started my research when I started making up this plan. I don't have as many windows as I would like, and the space, although it is open, it's a little too small. So I think I did a pretty good job, but it's still not 100%. And I'll tell you why. So the amount of space, whether it's private space or open space, can impact interactions within the family. So according to Leonard, one of my sources, he said that the amount of the size and space in a room can impact tension within the family. So open spaces can help release that tension with vertical patterns and items that open up into neighboring spaces like a fireplace. Windows can also be important. Windows can make for more privacy or less privacy, give you natural airflow and more natural light. So when you have windows in your house, you don't want a window in your bedroom facing the street, right? You don't want someone to walk and then look directly at you while you're changing. Makes you uncomfortable, doesn't it? So you want to probably make a curtain your best friend, or maybe a tree outside or some plants inside. But you also don't want to take away your natural lighting. Natural lighting can also be important because it's good for your body's natural rhythm. Well, the circadian rhythm helps regulate your sleep, your moods, and your energy levels throughout the day. So a light bulb can also do this if you don't have enough windows, but is anything as really good as the real thing? I don't think so. So I believe that a sun would do you some real good in your communication. So along with natural lighting, you have natural settings. This can be bodies of water, plants around your house, whether it's inside or outside, and maybe you can have a nature-themed wallpaper. Who doesn't like a nature-themed wallpaper? So according to Anthes, humans have the innate tendency to respond positively to nature. So as I said, bodies of water, plants, and nature-themed wallpaper. So with nature, it's green and blue. Those are cool colors. Violet is also one of those colors, but we're going to focus on the green and the blue. So these cool colors can make a space feel peaceful, relaxing, and it can make it feel open, which can lead to more positive family interactions or positive moods, and it can increase positive relations with yourself and others. Now, unlike cool colors, you have warm colors. They elicit active feelings, and it's more confined, makes the space feel smaller, and it's not as happy when you're in a confined space. And I don't know about you, but I really don't like confined spaces. So with all of this research, I made my final floor plan. This was what I made this semester. Now, I think this one is by far the best floor plan I've made. It has plenty of windows for natural lighting. It has some casement windows, which don't open, and there's ones that do open. Those help with the natural airflow. There's also plenty to limit the amount of privacy and keep people from staring into you when you're changing in the bedroom. There's also an alcove to protect privacy from the bedrooms to the foyer. Because when you walk straight into the room, you don't want to stare into someone's bedroom, do you? It's kind of creepy. Sorry. And there's also closets to buffer sounds from the bedrooms to the great room. Now, I hope you can take into consideration some or most or all of these factors that go into creating a positive family environment. And it really matters if you like the house. So, I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to. But I hope you can take into consideration most of these factors. Thank you.
All right, Maxwell Burbank. Max is a graduate of Penfield High School, majoring in psychology. Max's plans is to attend graduate school and work with the Michigan Department of Corrections to promote rehab and reform in the prison system. Max is incredibly involved on campus, member of Phi Theta Kappa, volunteer for the Take a Pause program. And I just met Max in January, so I don't know Max very well, but I asked Max's advisor to share some remarks about his qualities as a student. So as Professor Jessica Sullivan, a sociology instructor here, writes, Max shows an understanding of the social world that most folks don't. He demonstrates compassion for others through his volunteer work, helping fellow students decompress and stay connected on campus. Even his honors project shows his commitment to marginalized or overlooked people and an understanding of how we might best assist them in a compassionate way. Max's guiding question: what are the leading causes of recidivism in long-term prisoners, and what interventions can reduce reincarceration? Really nice question, by the way. And Dr. Jessica Sullivan is Max's advisor.
Okay, thank you. Hello. So for my project, I wanted to look into recidivism within the United States and the rehabilitative interventions we can implement to lower these rates. I used a holistic approach, looking at both psychological and sociological backgrounds of inmates to better understand their criminogenic needs. First, I want to define recidivism and criminogenic. Recidivism is the individual's relapse into criminal behavior or the tendency of a convicted criminal to reoffend, while criminogenic refers to the cause or the likely cause to criminal behavior. Some examples are substance use disorders and poverty when considering nonviolent offenses like drug trafficking and petty theft. I would also like to highlight that the United States spends around $30,000 a year per inmate, and this means that 100 inmates cost the United States about $3 million every year, which we pay in taxes. These numbers only increase with recidivism, so it's important to me to lower these costs to help negate that. I would also like to mention a statistic from my full presentation where the Desk of Bureau of Justice Assistance did a 10-year study and found that 82% of inmates were rearrested within 10 years following release from 2008 to 2018. During my research, I also found that over 50% of federally sentenced individuals have a high school diploma or less, with 50% of those individuals committing drug trafficking offenses or firearm-related offenses. For my research, I used a mix of personal interviews with professionals within the justice system, and I also looked at rehabilitative approaches internationally, including England and Scandinavian countries like Norway. I found that both social and psychological factors play a big role in crime, including family dynamics and mental health. I interviewed Kevin Kellums, who is a juvenile probation officer, and he pointed out the correlations between juveniles becoming long-term criminals and the background related to their household dynamics and how that influences their actions. I also interviewed forensic psychologist Sean Talbot, who highlighted the theory that individuals with psychological disorders use drugs to self-medicate, with early mindsets including victim mentalities, denial, projection, etc. However, despite these odds these individuals face, rehabilitation can help these people challenge these cognitive distortions and get back on their feet, as stated by Dr. Mitchell Walensky, a psychiatrist who works with inmates and provides them medications. Lastly, I discovered many resources that could be implemented to help keep inmates out of prison after release by assisting them to get back on their feet. These ideas were drawn both from examples from other countries with lower recidivism rates and examples I found within our own state, like Parnall Correctional Facility, which is in Jackson. Some of these include therapy in prison to help understand and accommodate an inmate's psychological needs, jobs within prisons to help promote responsibility, work ethic, and reward good behavior, along with communal living options, which help promote communication and teamwork, and education programs for inmates, which will open up more job opportunities for them once they are released. Overall, my research highlighted the importance of meeting an inmate's criminogenic needs in order to lower recidivism rates within the United States, and while it's completely unrealistic to remodel prisons from scratch, we can slowly implement smaller programs to help these inmates adjust to life after release and get them back on their feet. I would also like to thank everyone who helped me along the way with this project, as it was a big challenge for me and I wouldn't have been able to do it without the assistance.
Okay, our next presenter is Rachel Chapman. A dying breed, an English major. I love it. Rachel graduated from Calhoun Christian. Her immediate plans are to transfer to WMU for a Bachelor's of Arts in English. She's a Gold Key Scholar, a member of Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society, and I didn't know this until this semester, the Pokemon Go club leader. I didn't even know we had that club on campus, but who knew?
It's pretty new.
Is it new? Okay. Rachel approaches every reading and writing assignment with a sense of curiosity and wonder, and she also happens to be one of our most cerebral and talented writers. Whether she's analyzing literature, film, or art, Rachel brings a welcome level of depth and sophistication to her work. It was a privilege for me to serve as her project advisor, and I will miss our monthly meetings. Rachel's guiding question is, can human authors and editors coexist with artificial intelligence? And how will AI transform the literary arts? And I assure you, she did not use ChatGPT to write her final paper, as far as I know.
Work. Okay, so if you take a second to take a peek at these two quotes here, you'll notice that one is coming from actually a highly reputable academic journal, Composition Studies, and the other was generated in seconds by ChatGPT. Me personally, I spent the entirety of those 2 semesters, like Professor Samra was talking about, researching, drafting, writing a 13-page essay on this topic, while ChatGPT could have made it in literally seconds. So now we're left to ask ourselves, what does this mean for the future? And it's not like the perceived threat from AI is any sort of joke or anything blown out of proportion. It makes sense that it's scary. In writing, it can generate any sort of text exponentially faster than a human being could. And it even poses a threat to pre-existing authors in the fact that it could try to replicate an artist's work without their consent or permission. And if they're dead, they can't really sue or anything, which is a big problem. There's really no protections for the dead as we have it right now. In editing, AI is capable of taking a draft and pumping through revisions like in a second. That is an issue because human editors are shown by one study to need about a month-ish to make their revisions, and time is a resource in these fields. And in education, which is quite possibly one of the scariest areas for AI, it gives students the capability to just kind of bypass any sort of learning in the writing process. Why write if you can have the AI do it for you? And now it's time to figure out if this is based in reality or not. And my research showed that I don't really think that it is. As a writer, it inherently lacks creativity from the fact that it's just ripping information from other sources. In fact, they tend to just like, how do I explain this? They just scrape as much information from the internet as possible, and as more AI-generated information is put on the internet, the information these programs put out will become more and more lackluster. They ironically rely on human creativity. As an editor, they lack the proper nuance to critique human work because they don't understand artistic intent. They'll be inclined to chop out very necessary things in fictional stories or just totally botch whatever intent the author had. In a publication setting, AI has been found to make poor and biased decisions. One study that I found showed that AI disproportionately rejected manuscripts based solely on the topic ironically being AI in medical fields. And then in terms of scholarly writing, AI has a distinct tendency to just make things up that aren't true at all. This is called hallucination. And in one article that I found, an instance of AI claiming that it was the Weber Space Telescope had taken the first photograph of an exoplanet, when that was in fact not true at all. The first photograph of an exoplanet was taken in the early 2000s. Blatant lie. Any human would know that with a Google search. And as for the future, because the future is always an unknown, we'll definitely need to make some adaptations, but this is by no means going to eradicate the need for humans in the literary arts. The way that we teach writing and editing in schools will definitely need to adjust in order to instill in students the knowledge of like writing's cultural impact, like why they need to know how to write, and then like focus a little bit less on the technical functions, because they really need to know why they should learn to write. New protections must be made for authors so that their rights to their work will be respected after their death. so that no program can impersonate them and pass it off as them to complete their life's work. AI in scientific contexts must be carefully monitored, reviewed, and approved by a human researcher. This is just kind of a no-brainer when they're so inclined to spew factually incorrect information. And any sort of AI use in any sort of scholarly document must be documented properly. This would mean some sort of adaptation to give it a citation or something if it were to be used. Ignoring it really won't solve anything because technology doesn't really regress. We just have to adapt, which thankfully we are good at.
Rachel? All right, we are right on schedule. Our next presenter is Berlynn Conley. Berlynn is a radiography major from Plainwell. Her transfer plans are to head to WMU and major in their radiography program. She's a Gold Key Scholar as well, a member of the women's soccer team, and she also volunteers at 12 Baskets Food Pantry. Berlynn has made tremendous strides as a student during her 2 years at KCC. She'll be the first to admit that she initially had no clue what topic she wanted to explore for her honors project, but the research she ended up doing on brain imaging and Alzheimer's is truly fascinating. I sincerely hope you get a chance to view her entire presentation, as she's put a tremendous amount of work into it. Her guiding question: how are brain scans being used to monitor the progress of cognitive impairments like Alzheimer's, and can diagnostic imaging techniques like brain fingerprinting help treat cognitive decline? Berlynn's advisor, faculty advisor, is Dr. Jennifer Watson, a professor in our integrative learning department. You got this.
All right, hi everyone. Today I'll be discussing how brain scans are used to monitor the progression of cognitive impairments like Alzheimer's disease. Additionally, I'll introduce an emerging technique called brain fingerprinting, which has the potential to revolutionize how we diagnose and treat Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's disease, commonly referred to as AD, is the most common form of dementia affecting millions worldwide. It is a neurodegenerative disorder that starts with mild memory loss but gradually worsens over time. As AD progresses, individuals lose their ability to communicate, perform daily activities, and eventually lose their ability to respond to their environment. However, before Alzheimer's fully develops, many individuals experience mild cognitive impairment, or MCI. MCI is considered a transitional stage between normal aging and Alzheimer's. Unlike AD, those with MCI can still perform daily tasks, but their cognitive function is noticeably affected. Those with MCI face a heightened risk of developing Alzheimer's, which is why early intervention is crucial in identifying individuals at risk and monitoring disease progression. So how do we track these changes? Neuroimaging plays a vital role in detecting and monitoring the progression of Alzheimer's disease and MCI. Brain scans help researchers and medical professionals observe both structural and functional changes in the brain, which enables them to assess the severity and predict how quickly a patient's condition may progress. One of the key aspects of neuroimaging is the identification of biomarkers, which are biological indicators that reveal the presence and progression of a disease. For instance, structural MRI helps predict whether MCI will develop into AD by analyzing changes in brain volume and connectivity. Identifying these biomarkers is critical because it allows for timely intervention, helping researchers develop treatments and preventative strategies to slow the progression of AD. While traditional neuroimaging methods have significantly improved our understanding of AD, an emerging technique known as brain fingerprinting offers a new perspective. Brain fingerprinting uses EEG to measure brainwave activity and identify unique connectivity patterns. While it was originally developed for forensic applications such as lie detection and criminal investigations, it is now being explored for its potential in personalized medicine. Some of the potential applications of brain fingerprinting in AD treatment include creating individualized brain maps that track communication between different regions of the brain, monitoring subtle connectivity changes over time to assess whether treatments are effective, and identifying vulnerable areas in the brain that could be targets for future interventions, assisting in the design of more tailored treatments. The ability to analyze individualized brain activity at such a precise level opens the door for new approaches to diagnosing AD, and potentially even predicting the disease before symptoms occur. Brain fingerprinting presents exciting possibilities for early diagnosis and intervention. Because it allows clinicians to detect brain changes before major symptoms arise, it may help develop preventative strategies that delay the onset of cognitive decline. By tailoring treatment approaches to an individual's unique neural activity patterns, brain fingerprinting has the potential to significantly improve patient outcomes. However, despite its potential, brain fingerprinting has limitations that must be addressed before it becomes widely accepted in medical practice. These include small sample sizes, which makes it difficult to confirm whether findings apply to larger populations. Furthermore, generalizability remains a concern, as that means it cannot be translated universally across different demographics. Looking ahead, though, researchers are working to refine brain fingerprinting technology by enhancing diagnostic precision through advanced machine learning models and optimizing clinical trial designs to target specific areas of brain shrinkage patterns. If successful, brain fingerprinting could revolutionize Alzheimer's diagnosis and treatment, providing more personalized interventions that better suit the needs of individual patients. Although Alzheimer's disease remains incurable, advancements in neuroimaging and techniques like brain fingerprinting could significantly improve early detection, leading to better treatment outcomes and improved patient care. As neuroimaging continues to advance, it provides invaluable insights into AD and cognitive impairment. While traditional scans can help track disease progression, emerging techniques like brain fingerprinting could hold significant potential for personalized treatment. As research in this field continues, it will further refine our understanding and improve both the diagnosis and management of cognitive disorders. Thanks for listening. Oh my God.
All right, our next graduate is Jessie Cummins. Jessie has not been feeling great this week, but I'm really glad she's here. So, Jessie's a Harper Creek grad. She's majoring in radiography, and she too is planning on transferring to Western Michigan University to get her Bachelor's of Science in Health Services. Jessie's an X-ray student associate at Bronson Methodist. She volunteers at Southwest Michigan Food Bank, member of Phi Theta Kappa, Gold Key Scholar, member of the women's soccer team, and the recipient of the Herbranson Mann Scholarship, yada, yada, yada. So, very accomplished, to put it mildly. Jessie is also the recipient of this year's Outstanding Radiography Graduate Award. And in one of those strange It's a Small World coincidences, I found out that during her clinical rotation at Bronson Kalamazoo earlier this semester, Jessie took exceptionally good care of my 94-year-old father when he was hospitalized for a few days. Yeah, and by the way, my dad says hello and that you should get an A on your project, and I don't know where that's coming from, but Jessie's guiding question: how does the overuse of diagnostic imaging affect the physical well-being of patients as well as the efficiency of hospitals? And how can medical personnel reduce unnecessary diagnostic imaging? So, great question, by the way. And Mindy Snyder, professor of radiography and also the program coordinator, was Jessie's advisor. You got this. There's the clicker right
So the title of my project was To Scan or Not to Scan the Overuse of Diagnostic Imaging. My thesis statement claims that due to the risks associated with radiation exposure, along with the unnecessary burdens it can place on insurance and hospital staff, diagnostic imaging should be more carefully considered when ordered by physicians. During my time spent in the radiography program here at KCC, I have completed almost 1,700 hours of clinical time. Throughout my clinical experience at Bronson Methodist Hospital, as well as Borgess Ascension Hospital, it has been evident that diagnostic imaging is being overused, which is ultimately why I decided to do my project on this specific issue. The graph up here just shows the progression of diagnostic imaging. You can clearly see how it is increasing over the years. On this slide, I have a quote from the World Health Organization, which states an estimated 3.6 billion diagnostic examinations are performed annually worldwide. Another source talks about the percentage of overuse regarding the different modalities and specific exams performed within those modalities. This source states ultrasound, specifically abdominal ultrasound, x-rays of the thorax, and abdominal CTs are notably overused in 90.9%, 80%, and 69.2% of all patient cases, respectively. Also seen on this slide is one of the most common exams I perform when walking in the x-ray department, which is a two-view x-ray of the chest, also known as an x-ray of the thorax, which, as I stated before, is notably overused around 80% of all patient cases. On this next slide, I have another quote from a different source that states, a CT of the abdomen uses 300 to 400 times the amount of radiation used for a single view x-ray of the chest. This source just shows how much more significant the dose to CT is compared to general x-ray. And then this pie chart image shows the visual representation of the major diagnostic imaging modalities. And you can see that CT, also known as computed tomography, is most used at around 24%. This chart also shows that majority of the radiation we receive in our lifetimes is actually from background sources. One of the most significant causes is radon and thoron, which contributes 37% to our cumulative dose. The next image on this slide shows the potentially harmful effects of radiation exposure that can be caused by the overuse of diagnostic imaging. This is Jacoby Roth, a 2-year-old who was brought to the emergency department by his family as he fell and hit his head. The image shows Jacoby after being repeatedly imaged a total of 151 times for a head and neck CT scan. The x-ray technologist who performed this exam was actually taken to court by the parents and ultimately lost her license due to the major operation error that she committed. Jacoby will face major health concerns in the future as he received an absorbed dose of 2.8 grays or 2,800 millisieverts, which is extremely high when compared to a normal pediatric CT study of the spine, which uses a range of 1.5 to 4 millisieverts. It's important to know that any dose of radiation can cause an effect, let alone being scanned 151 times in the span of 60 minutes. Erythema of the skin is shown on Jacoby's face in the picture, which is basically just a fancy name for reddening of the skin. Erythema isn't seen in practice often, however, it is still an effect that we need to be aware of when talking about the overuse of diagnostic imaging. Many other effects can be caused by radiation exposure, such as alopecia, nausea, fatigue, and some more severe and long-term effects include increased cancer risk, infertility, and cataracts. Throughout my project, I focused a lot on the potential solutions to the overuse of diagnostic imaging. These include the DIDS systems, the Prometheus, the MCDA, and the CDS systems. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to go over all of these today, but if you are interested in learning more about them, you can scan that QR code on your pamphlet to read more about that. Overall, these new systems could potentially be the solution that we so desperately need within our hospitals, but that begs the final question of why these hospitals are not implementing these new systems. If these new systems were to be implemented, it would cause a significant loss in profit for most hospitals, as most for-profit hospitals make most of their money from the over-ordering of tests, including the over-ordering of diagnostic imaging. The last key point that was evident in many sources throughout my project was the fear of physicians being sued by their patients. Most physicians stated that they feared being sued by their patients for either missing a diagnosis or misdiagnosing a patient when diagnostic imaging was not used. Not only will implementing these new systems cause a significant loss in profit, but it could also result in many lawsuits, which would ultimately cost even more in the long run. That's all.
All right, Rachel Feldpausch. Rachel is a homeschool graduate, receiving her associates in science in 2 weeks. If we did have an interdisciplinary degree in science, business, botany, fine arts, she would probably sign up for it, but she has a number of eclectic interests. Her immediate plans are to enter the workforce after receiving her associate's degree. Rachel is a Gold Key Scholar, a member of Phi Theta Kappa, also a member of CAB, Kellogg Activities Board. She's an officer on CAB, and she volunteers at Lila Arboretum, and she's been on the president's list every semester? Yeah, okay, every semester. Rachel also has the distinction of being the second person in her family to complete honors level coursework at KCC. I was especially impressed this semester by Rachel's willingness to challenge herself by switching the format of her project midstream from MLA to APA. A convert. That's like heresy from an English instructor, which MLA is our world, but APA has it's more applicable. So at any rate, that's a lot like learning a new language for many students, so kudos to you. Rachel is also that increasingly rare breed of student who, after emailing you with a question, will actually acknowledge the reply that you sent to her, right? That was the sound of educators swooning, right? Rachel's guiding question: how can I create a coffee business that competes with national chains and also creates a sense of community? Rachel's faculty advisor was Sam Fonseca, a professor of business and sports management. Take it away.
Thank you, Professor Samra. So for my research project, I decided to create a business plan for a coffee house named Cup and Such. I chose this topic because I enjoy making drinks, particularly espresso-based drinks. And the name for the business came from years ago when a couple of my siblings were playing with Lego bricks and they had made a restaurant named Cup and Such. The idea of building a new or bringing a new coffee shop into the industry is relevant because a majority of Americans drink coffee. This business would be located at 1055 M43 Hastings within Berry County, and there's a high volume of traffic that passes by this location, and so it would provide a good customer base for the business. Cup and Such will offer drinks such as coffee-based drinks, teas, smoothies, caffeinated beverages, and donuts. The ingredients for these products will be sourced local as much as possible in order to have fresh ingredients for fresh products and to support businesses nearby. Some of the challenges that Cup and Such will encounter is entering an already saturated industry. I do not have the advantage of purchasing supplies in big quantities, and so expenses will be higher. Cup and Such will not have a reputation entering into the industry, so that will need to be built over time. And unlike franchises and chains, my business will not have the established practices and tools that they do. However, some of the opportunities that an independent business provides is the ability to make my own menu and provide even like customer requested products. I will be able to choose where I will buy my products from or my ingredients from. I won't have to pay overhead and corporate costs like a franchise would have to. And I could implement sustainable measures such as implementing an off-site composting for food waste. My target market would be those in the 20 to 69 years old age group, and according to the U.S. Census Bureau, in Berry County, there's 40,000 people in this age bracket, and they have an income of about $68,000. Some of my customer values will like to support businesses that are local and practice sustainability. And some of their preferences is convenience, which I will fulfill through providing a drive-through, as well as also appealing to those who appreciate a community-focused environment and want the in-house dining experience. For advertising methods, having an online website may sound redundant, but it will provide a way for me to show people what my business stands for, and tell people what the business is about in case they want to learn about it before they're willing to step through the doors. And then another method is social media, and this will allow me to reach those who are already on social media platforms. And then lastly, networking with other businesses is a form of advertising because I'll be supporting them, they will be supporting me, and they can get the word out. Community is important, as a psychologist said. A community provides belonging, support, and identity, and reduces stress and isolation. So ways that Cup and Such can build the community is by connecting with the school system and, for example, providing bulk orders for school administration. Secondly, offering a place for people to gather, such as having a gathering room. And then lastly, just instilling in the employees the importance of personable service is another way of building the community. So through sound business and marketing principles and by focusing on the community, Cup and Such will be able to succeed in the coffee industry. Thank you.
All right, we're on page 2 of 2, so that's good. Zara, come on up. Zara Franklin. Zara is a psychology major, graduated from Hastings High School. She plans to transfer to WMU and major in psychology. She's already been admitted to the Lee Honors College. She also has a long laundry list of accomplishments, Gold Key Scholar, Phi Theta Kappa. She's president of Campus Activities Board, Kellogg Activities Board, the new name. She volunteers at Reach Out and Read, Hastings Public Library, and she also works at Family Support Center of Berry County. Zara's barbed wire wit and biting sense of humor can sometimes obscure her big heart and her incredible capacity for empathy. Zara is currently enrolled in my Shakespeare seminar, and when she told me earlier this semester that one of her favorite Shakespearean heroines is the sharp-tongued and fiercely independent Beatrice from Much Ado About Nothing, well, everything just suddenly made sense. Zara's guiding question: what is the therapeutic impact of integrating creative and expressive arts into the treatment of children with trauma? Her advisor was Dr. Mitchell Walensky, professor of psychology. Take it away, Zara. You see that right there?
Yeah. I'm going to start us off with a rather sobering fact that nearly 50% of all children in the United States have experienced at least one form of serious trauma, such as physical, verbal, and sexual abuse, emotional and physical neglect, socioeconomic hardship, divorce or parental separation, incarceration of a parent, or death of a parent. With the prevalence of trauma among children in the United States, the need for developmentally appropriate trauma treatments is a prevalent concern within the field of psychology. But what I chose to study for my project was creative and expressive arts therapy, which is a methodology that aims to fulfill this need. Creative and expressive arts therapy, or CEAT, refers to the use of art, music, drama, dance and movement, poetry and creative writing, bibliotherapy, play, and sand play within the context of psychotherapy, counseling, or medicine. And to the right, I included an example of drawing as a form of creative and expressive arts therapy. There are several benefits to integrating creative and expressive arts therapy into the treatment of children with trauma, one being creating a pathway for nonverbal communication. Children may not and generally do not have the vocabulary or even level of cognitive function necessary to verbalize their trauma. And on top of that, for people of all ages, trauma affects the areas of the brain that are responsible for speech, language, and memory. So creative and expressive arts therapy provides a pathway for nonverbal communication, which allows it to serve as a way for children to communicate and externalize their traumatic memories, which is a crucial first step in the treatment process. Additionally, CEAT fosters feelings of safety within the treatment setting. One of the sources that I consulted in my project recognized that 80% of young people reported that CEAT helped them learn how to express their feeling safety, and another 78% reporting that it helped them understand how their thoughts related to their feelings. So in addition to being able to communicate, feeling safety in that communication results in a significant improvement in a child's understanding and communication of their experiences. Finally, creative and expressive arts therapy improves a child's capacity for life satisfaction. The American Psychological Association defines life satisfaction as the extent to which a person finds life rich, meaningful, full, or of high quality. And by providing pathways for nonverbal communication as well as feelings of safety in engaging in that communication, CEAT fills in the gaps that solely talk-based therapies tend to miss with children with trauma, which enhances the treatment process. And by enhancing the treatment process and making it more effective, creative and expressive arts therapy leads to a diminished in the impacts of trauma, like depression, anxiety, distrust, flashbacks, and even physical health concerns. So those impacts create major barriers for children and eventually adults to experience a higher level of life satisfaction. But with the integration of creative and expressive arts therapy, children can eventually become adults who have received effective psychological treatment for the trauma they experienced. Thank you.
All right, Aydin Holley is our next presenter. And by the way, each honors program graduate is getting an honors cord that they can wear at commencement to mark their accomplishments, so that's pretty cool. Having worked with Aydin in 3 different classes now, I can honestly say that he is one of the most courteous students I've ever taught. However, Aydin occasionally suffers from a condition known as SAD, and that's not seasonal affective disorder. That is selective adherence to deadlines. He's owning this, yes. All kidding aside, Aydin is a true gentleman who values constructive feedback. His sincerity, patience, and kindness will serve him well, not only as a physical therapist, but as a human being. And I skipped right over everything about him. Hold on a second, let me back up. I was so eager to insult him. All right, Aydin is a Harper Creek grad and a physical therapist assistant major. He plans to complete his PTA program and enter the workforce. He's a Gold Key Scholar, member of Phi Theta Kappa, and president of the campus pickleball club. His guiding question, how does physical activity influence an individual's mental health, And I don't believe Dr. Talbot is here. Sean, are you here? Okay, so Tom's going to step in. Your advisor, okay, I'll stop right there. Dr. Sean Talbot, a psychology professor. You got this? Okay.
Good morning, everyone. So today my presentation is going to be on the relationship between physical activity and an individual's mental health. The first thing I'm going to cover here today is the national crisis of mental health that we've been experiencing in America in recent years. So without a doubt, as a country, it is a good idea that we do invest money, time, and effort into providing services for individuals, such as therapy, who do struggle with mental health issues. We've definitely helped millions of Americans, maybe even saved hundreds of thousands of lives over the time, but all this money we're spending is not resulting in decreased number of Americans who are diagnosed with mental health disorders. As you can see by this graph here, we got 4 different lines. The pink one, second to the bottom, is the total from 2010 to 2021 or so of individuals who have been diagnosed with a mental health disorder. As you can see there, that number is going up pretty substantially, unfortunately. But for ages 50 or older, you guys are doing very great. The number stayed pretty stagnant. It's actually decreased from 2010. Good job, Mr. Samra. So for ages 18 to 25, we got some work to do for me and my peers. This number's going up, unfortunately, at a pretty rapid rate here. Same thing for ages 26 to 49. So if we look at the spending numbers, in 2019 alone, we spent just shy $250 billion in mental health treatment as a country, and that's a 52% increase from just 10 years prior in 2009. So again, we're spending all this money, it's not working. And if we look at some actual statistics here, in 2019, 18% of adult Americans were diagnosed with a mental health disorder. And in 2024, just 5 years later, 23.6% of Americans were again diagnosed in just a 5-year time frame. That's roughly 16 million extra Americans in just that time frame. And that doesn't even account for 1, individuals who are unofficially diagnosed, and 2, adolescents. If we throw those 2 in there, unfortunately, the number is much likely to be a lot higher. So now to actually get into what physical activity is defined as and where you'd begin to see examples of benefits if you start to incorporate it on your mental health. So physical activity, as defined by the World Health Organization, is any bodily movement produced by skeletal muscles that requires energy expenditure. While that is the textbook definition, unfortunately getting up off the couch after a 3-hour Netflix binge is not going to be enough to see results on your mental health. Now you begin to start to see results in things like light walking, running, jogging, sports, swimming, essentially anything that gets the heart rate up over a prolonged period of time is where you're going to begin to see those results. So now, what is the actual relationship and what benefits do you see when you begin to incorporate physical activity on your psychological well-being? So overall, there are many wide varieties of disorders that are affected by physical activity, such as anxiety, depression, self-harm thoughts, stress, self-esteem levels. Those are all areas of mental health disorders that did see a genuine positive impact over time when an individual incorporates exercise into their week-by-week routine. And if we look at some numbers here, individuals who suffered with anxiety were tasked to exercise for a 90-day period, and in that 90-day period, they were given 2 different intensity levels to exercise at, one being a moderate intensity, one being a high intensity. That moderate intensity group at the end of that time period, 90 days, saw a 32.6% decrease in their anxiety levels, and the individuals who exercised at the high intensity rate saw a 48.8% reduction in their anxiety levels. After 90 days, that's a pretty good return on investment there. And now if we look at depression, individuals were tasked to exercise for 2.5 hours for just a little bit for a couple months, the same time as that 90-day period, but looked at depression side of things. In just that 90-day period, individuals were 25% less likely to be diagnosed with a sort of depression. Again, just 2.5 hours out of 168 in a week. That's a great return on investment there. So now, the biggest thing is sticking to an actual routine that you can enjoy and adhere to over a prolonged period of time to experience these benefits. Now, when life's obligations get in the way, such as work, the new baby on board, school, family, whatever it is, it can be pretty hard to adhere to a routine, but there are definitely some methods that individuals can utilize to do so. One of those being rewarding yourself after a long, hard workout, maybe going out to a movie with your friends or family, to do something that you enjoy and just feel good after. Another thing would be choosing a fun activity that you simply enjoy. Now, if you enjoy playing sports, I enjoy playing pickleball, that's why I made the club. That's something I do. That's something I would do for a physical activity. Essentially, doing whatever you enjoy is going to make you that much more likely to stick to it. Now, if you think about bringing friends or family into that as well, you're a lot more likely to stick to something you not only enjoy, but being around people you enjoy being around, have a fun time with, you're gonna enjoy that a lot more than something you don't like and you're by yourself. It's going to make you that much more likely to adhere to it. Now, another thing would be starting out small. It can be pretty daunting to think about a 5K or a 10K. Individuals, they start out running, jogging. They don't just get right to it. So starting out small can make you that much more confident in it and make you feel better about doing it and make it seem less scary. Another thing would be is putting a physical time block in your day-by-day routine. This can not only give you a physical reminder to adhere to your schedule and remind you to do your exercise for that day or week period, it's going to also allow for you to incorporate in your day-by-day routine and stick to it. And if you're already doing things for like work or things like that you can turn into a physical routine, such as like a genuine phone call for work, if you have the ability to take those outside and make it into like a 15, 20-minute walk, you're not only using that time you're already using, but you're turning it into something where you're going to see those benefits over time. Thank you, everyone.
I just told Aydin he has a future as a motivational speaker. Okay, Lucy Lampart. Lucy is a homeschool graduate majoring in psychology. Her immediate plans are to transfer to Spring Arbor University and earn her Bachelor of Science and then go on to medical school. She's a Gold Key Scholar, member of the women's soccer team, volunteer as an assistant ESL teacher at Calvary Bible Church. Lucy also works as a student assistant doing data entry, for the college's Department of Assessment. And if I had a nickel for every person on our campus who has sung Lucy's praises as a student, a coworker, a friend, or fellow athlete over the past 2 years, I would be able to retire early. I'm pretty sure Lucy even has a small fan club here today. A number of people approach me, so what time is Lucy presenting? I want to cut away from my office and see her song and dance. So I will miss Lucy's positive attitude and her infectious smile. Lucy's guiding question is absolutely fascinating. Are virtual reality and exposure therapy plausible methods to treat anxiety disorders, phobias, and post-traumatic stress disorder? Her advisor is Dr. Mitchell Walensky, psychology professor. When you want the video to play, just holler if there's a video. Okay? And there's the button right there.
Okay. Expectations are set pretty high now. So good morning, everyone. Okay, it's not that boring. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Okay, there we go. Okay, so as mentioned, my project is on VRET. So let's get into it. See if I can do this right. There we go. Okay, so imagine being able to face your greatest fears, whether it's flying, public speaking, or crowded spaces, not out in the world, but safely inside a therapist's office. This is the promise of virtual reality exposure therapy, or VRET. VRET uses advanced computer modeling and simulation to create a fully immersive virtual world. The goal is to make you feel as though you're truly there, surrounded by the things that really trigger your anxiety, but always in a safe and controlled environment. VRET is an evidence-based treatment used for a range of anxiety disorders, including phobias, panic disorders, social anxiety, OCD, PTSD, and generalized anxiety disorder. Quite the list. It's especially helpful for people who might find traditional exposure therapy too overwhelming. It's a great first step. During a session, patients wear a VR headset and are gradually exposed to anxiety-provoking situations. The therapist can adjust the intensity and duration, always keeping the patient's safety and comfort the center of the process. Now we can move to the video to help elaborate further.
The program is pretty new at CAPS. It is a virtual reality program, and we're using this technology with students to help them with their fears. A lot of those fears could be related to fear of flying, fear of public speaking, fear of spiders, different scenarios in which evoke a lot of anxiety for individuals. Clinicians have been using this to integrate exposure therapy for a lot of veterans with PTSD. I think it's really exciting that we now have the resources to be able to use it within our counseling center, and so students have access to it as well. I really love doing exposure work with clients and being able to have them move through their fears. And sometimes when you're doing exposure, you don't have access to the things in the real world. And so the VR program really allows you to do that.
Oh, sweet. We can move to the next slide. I don't know, my little clicker thingy's not working. Thank you. Okay. Huh? That's a great question that I don't know the answer to. Yeah, back it up one and we'll see. Okay, I can do it on here now.
Is that it?
I don't know. You know what? We're going to go with it. Yes. There we go. Okay. Woo! She's working. Okay. Now that we have a good overview, that was on the video because there was no way I was going to explain that as well as she did. Let's compare VRET to more traditional exposure therapy techniques. With VRET, therapists can control every single aspect of the environment. Imagine being able to repeat an airplane takeoff 10 times in a row, or practice giving a speech to a virtual audience as often as you need. I would have loved that, by the way. That would have been great. The level of repeatability that you see in VRET is almost impossible in real life in many situations. VRET also offers a safer and less intimidating way to confront your fears. For many, knowing that they can stop the simulation at any time makes it easier to take those first steps towards healing. And because everything is virtual, therapists can gradually increase the challenge, helping patients desensitize at their own pace. VRET sessions can even be more efficient, allowing multiple exposures in a single session, something that would, again, be nearly impossible with traditional methods. But one of the most important parts that I came across in my studies are that therapists must remain the heart of the treatment. The technology is simply a tool, and it's the therapist who guides the process, adjusts the difficulty, and provides support every step of the way. VRET does not replace human care. It enhances it. Despite all this promise, we can't ignore the need for more research, which is another thing that I came across in my studies. Most of the studies so far focused on specific groups, like military veterans. We need more diverse studies to understand who benefits most and how to make treatment as efficient for everyone as possible. There's also questions about how to best train therapists to use VR and how to create standardized, effective protocols. The possibilities with VR are really endless. Imagine a future where therapists can practice with virtual patients, honing their skills before ever having worked with real people. Imagine standardized VR training environments that help therapists deliver the best care possible, but we aren't there yet. We need more research, we need more investments, and more collaboration to unlock the full potential that VRET offers. In conclusion, virtual reality exposure therapy is a powerful new tool in the fight against anxiety disorders, phobias, and PTSD. It offers safety, control, and flexibility that traditional methods can't always provide. It's a perfect first step. But we must remember that therapists are the center of this care, and we need more research to ensure that VRET is safe and effective and accessible for all who need it. We need to keep pushing for progress, as it is extremely important. Thank you so much for listening.
All right, we have 4 more presenters. Josh Midbo. Josh is an exercise science major. He graduated from Lance Cruz North in Macomb. His academic plans are to transfer to a 4-year institution for both baseball and academics, not necessarily in that order. He has multiple extracurriculars. He's a Gold Key Scholar, member of the men's baseball team, and a volunteer at New Level Sports Ministries. I personally knew Josh was an exceptional student when he took my honors freshman composition course 2 years ago. He consistently utilized my office hours to ask questions and get constructive feedback on his writing. I remain astonished and impressed by Josh's self-discipline, his attention to detail, and his ability to always see the big picture of an assignment. My wife runs the Montessori in Marshall, and she always says about students who are independent and who are self-guided, they do the work, and that is this guy right here. He does the work. He's a delight to work with, and here's his guiding question, which is very personal to him, by the way. What explains the frequency of Tommy John surgery among developing athletes, and what preventative measures and recovery programs can help combat rising surgery rates and prolong athletes' careers? Josh went off campus, so to speak, for his advisor. He recruited his physical therapist, Dr. Carter Kowalczyk. Is that how you said it? Kowalczyk, okay. Who is not here today, and we've got a stand-in for you. Josh, take it away.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There's the clicker right there.
Okay, so for my research project, I decided to investigate the ongoing Tommy John surgery epidemic in baseball, which is something that I have unfortunately fallen victim to myself. So for some background context, Tommy John surgery involves the repair or total reconstruction of the ulnar collateral ligament, which is the UCL, in the medial elbow. From the year 2000 to 2012, nearly triple the amount of pitchers in the MLB required Tommy John surgery, and there was over a 50% increase among high school players. Some of the leading causes of Tommy John surgery include higher pitch counts, increased pitching velocity, sports specialization, which involves playing baseball year-round without rest instead of playing multiple sports, and finally, the increasingly demanding recruiting standards of both collegiate and professional baseball. So if we take a look at this pitching data on the right, we can actually see some of the warning signs that pitchers exhibit in their 15 games prior to injury. So looking at chart A, we can see that the percentage of curveballs thrown in the games leading to injury actually increases. And so the curveball is thrown at a much lower velocity than other pitches, so contrary to popular belief, it actually puts less valgus torque or stress on the medial elbow. In charts B, C, and D, we can see that the velocity trends in 3 different types of pitches all decline because as the UCL loses its strength and stability, varus torque generation, which is the force required to actually throw the baseball, decreases along with their velocity. And then finally, in charts E and F, we are taking a look at the spin rates of two different types of fastballs. So a damaged UCL is unable to pronate and generate force properly, which causes the pitcher's fastball to cut due to the resultant spin. So if we take a look at chart E, we can see that the spin rates of the cutter actually increase, while in chart F, the spin rates of a traditional four-seam fastball decrease. And so with this data in mind, we can actually identify pitchers that are on the brink of injury before they actually require surgery. And so then we have to ask ourselves, what is the importance of having elbow strength? Well, when looking at the motion of throwing the baseball, there are two main forces that generate the power to throw the ball, valgus and varus torque. Valgus torque refers to the force of stress on the elbow as it bends inward towards the body in a position similar to that in figure 1. And on the other hand, varus torque is the force required to overcome valgus torque and actually allow the arm to extend and properly release the baseball. And so when looking at varus torque production, the force is produced by the muscles in yellow and the passive joint structure in red actually have an inverse relationship. And so with stronger muscles surrounding the elbow joint, the muscles will be able to produce more force, which will therefore put less stress on the elbow's passive joint structure, which includes the UCL. And so taking this information into account, I have actually developed my own strength and maintenance program, which is specifically tailored to that of a pitcher. And so on the far left, I have a full upper body routine. In the middle, I have a lower body routine. And then on the right, I have an arm care, arm maintenance routine, which is specifically tailored to developing the muscles in the forearm and the shoulder. And so when pairing this program with my stretching and conditioning routine, my banded rotator cuff exercises, and my year-round throwing program that I have designed in my full presentation, a pitcher will be able to develop the optimal strength in order to prevent their risk of injury and Tommy John surgery. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Brooklyn Taylor. Brooklyn is a Harper Creek grad majoring in psychology. She plans to take a gap year and then likely attend WMU for a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology. She's promised me that gap year won't turn into a gap decade. She's too bright not to be in school. She's a Gold Key Scholar, a member of Phi Theta Kappa, and an officer on CAB. Brooklyn was a good writer when she arrived at KCC 2 years ago, but over the past 4 semesters, she has truly blossomed into an excellent writer, as evidenced by the 24-page APA research essay you wrote. 22 plus citation. Okay, fair enough. Don't let that deter you from reading it, by the way. I also appreciate Brooklyn's kindness and her tremendous work ethic. Her guiding question, excuse me, how do different parenting styles, for example, permissive, authoritative, authoritarian, and neglectful, impact the development of children? Her advisor is Professor Michelle Peterson, who teaches psychology here on campus. Take it away. You saw this, right? You're good.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin by going over the 4 different styles of parenting. The first one on this list here is authoritative, which can sometimes be called gentle parenting, liberal parenting. There's a few different names, but authoritative is the overall term. This environment involves a parent who is warm, gentle, nurturing, and in turn, this makes the child feel safe, and they're able to express how they feel. The boundaries in these environments are very clear, and they are explained when they're not. The second on this list here is authoritarian, so think like a dictator. These parents they offer no support or little to no support. Sometimes they have harsh guidelines, and as a result of that, that can turn into strict rules, and usually they don't explain why. These parents usually don't have much warmth, and so in result, these kids might not feel as safe or welcome to express how they feel. Sometimes in these homes, there could be emotional neglect or even physical or mental abuse. Permissive parenting is the third on my list here. These parents are usually warm and very friendly. They offer a safe environment, but they really do not have many rules or expectations for their kids. In these homes, all behaviors are rewarded, whether these are positive or negative. These behaviors are rewarded or they are entirely dismissed. The final and possibly the most harmful parenting style is neglectful or uninvolved. And simply the parent is not there to meet their child's needs emotionally or physically. In these environments, parents are again not there, so the child has to teach themselves how to grow up. And as you can imagine, that is pretty harmful for their development. So with my research here, I looked at, I believe, 9 different factors, and as a result, you can see that there are some negative approaches to parenting, which are the authoritarian, permissive, and neglectful styles. In these homes, again, children usually don't feel as welcome to express how they feel, so as a result, they might have some problems with their emotional regulation, or how safe they feel, which can impact how they're sleeping, or how available and allowed it is to express their creativity along with those emotions. With these negative approaches, the risk that they will develop mental health problems or substance abusing problems is much higher. The positive parenting approach, as I've learned through this research here, is the authoritative style, which is very different from the previous 3, because in these homes the child feels safe, they feel welcome, they feel that they're able to express how they're feeling and how it's impacting them. And as a result, you can imagine that their emotional competence and ability in school, creativity levels, sleep quality is going to be much higher. I've attached a quote here. The welfare and well-being of children to a large degree depends on the stability and quality of family and the environment in which they grow. That's a lot of pressure for a parent. So I wanted something tangible that you could take with you, because I can't say that you have to parent a certain way. So I've got a handout coming around to you in a little bit here. The way that you parent not only impacts that child's childhood, adolescent years, but it also impacts their adult life. It impacts how they communicate with other individuals, how they will express how they're feeling. It impacts the workforce. It impacts a lot of different aspects. And the biggest part is that these parents might not know how. There is no set guide on how to parent. So there's a lot of parenting, like other factors that come into parenting and what it means to be a parent. And I'm not a parent myself, but I do have parents myself, right? So I've learned from their experiences and how they had, their parents growing up. There's a lot of factors that influence how they will be a parent and how they will impact their child's life. So I hope you can take a look at that handout, and if you'd like to, are brave enough to read a 22-page research paper. Don't let that bother you or scare you, okay? There's a lot of information in there, and I recognize that, but I hope that you can take at least one aspect of what I presented to you today and let that guide your parenting, or you could share that with someone to let that guide their parenting as well. Thank you.
Okay, Spencer Williams. How fantastic that we have such an eclectic range of majors in this cohort here. It's wonderful. Spencer's a Harper Creek grad, majoring in aviation technical operations. He currently works at Duncan Aviation in their apprenticeship program here in town. A Gold Key Scholar, member of Phi Theta Kappa. I didn't know about the Pickle Club either, but it makes sense. We have 12 courts here on campus, Pickleball Club, member of CAB, Campus Activities Board, Kellogg Activities Board. They recently changed their name. And as I mentioned, employed at Duncan Aviation. The key to finding happiness in life, according to Max Fisher in Wes Anderson's comedy Rushmore, is simple, and I quote, "You just got to find something you love to do and then do it for the rest of your life," unquote. Spencer has found that something in the aviation field. As an aircraft mechanic at Duncan Aviation, he's gained valuable experience in the field. He's also a genuinely nice guy who hopes to earn his seaplane pilot's license one day. Spencer Williams. His guiding question: what factors attract buyers to the private aircraft market, and how might aircraft features be presented to maximize sales and revenue? All right, Sam Fonseca is doing double duty this semester as an advisor for a couple of students, also a professor of business and sports management. Spencer?
You saw that, right? Yeah. Good morning. Today we're taking off into the high-flying world of aircraft sales, an industry where luxury meets logistics, business meets altitude, and it's known for its focus, in private business jets. Both new and pre-owned, this sector is more than just selling planes. It's about delivering status, speed, and tailored experiences to niche clientele. The market is thriving. For instance, Bombardier projected a rise from 123 business jets sold in 2022 to 138 in 2023, just new, and a global market worth of $28 billion in 2024, which was projected to hit $30 billion by 2025. Who's buying? It's a mix of high net worth individuals, corporations seeking time saving, and first-time buyers exploring convenience of private travel. This growing demand is turning runways into real revenue. So what exactly are buyers looking for? Buyers are looking for time efficiency, privacy, comfort, and at the top of the list, safety. Well, also flexibility, being on their own schedule, not the airlines. Time is money. Interestingly, most of the market leans toward pre-owned aircraft. Why? They're more available and cost-effective, but usually means a significant investment in refurbishment to match the buyer's standards. Sales trends are shaped by economic health, tech improvement, evolving lifestyle needs, from seating layouts to entertainment and configurations are highly personalized. No two jets are the same. It's a business of customization. Or customization is a perk. In this business, customization is a perk, not a standard. Owning a private jet isn't just about buying, it's about maintaining it. Prices range from $2 million for light jets to over 100 million for long-range, large cabin models. And if buying pre-owned, a proper refurbishment can cost over $1 million. Then there are ongoing expenses, fuel, maintenance, crew salaries, hangarage, insurance. It all adds up. Annual operating costs typically run between $500,000 to over $1 million. To manage this, buyers often look into financing, leasing, or even fractional ownership, like a timeshare, which allow multiple parties to share usage and cost. The key takeaway is private aviation is an investment, not a purchase. Finally, let's talk about how these jets actually get sold. Clear, credible communication is essential. Buyers need to trust the sales team, and that comes from simplifying the complex process. Aircraft ownership sales often happen through multiple different channels, such as direct from OEMs or dealerships, brokers that can get you with new and pre-owned aircraft, online platforms like Jetcraft or AvBuyer, and fractional or charter services. Increasingly, fractional charters looking ahead, the future aircraft sales is being shaped by tech innovation. Think smarter avionics and artificially based maintenance systems. There's also growing interest in eco-conscious flying, electric air taxis, and in short success in this field takes more than just knowledge of aviation. It takes strategy, storytelling, and strong client relationships. In conclusion, aircraft sales is a unique blend of luxury, logistics, and long-term thinking. Whether you're helping a billionaire buy a Gulfstream or a company invest in their first jet, it's about understanding the buyer, anticipating their needs, and delivering solutions that fly high, literally and figuratively. I will see you guys all at an aviation dealership in the next couple of years. And if we all put in just a little amount, we could all get a fractional ownership in an aircraft and get a week each to fly wherever we want.
Don't sign any paperwork in the lobby, please. All right, Casey Zinsmaster, our relief pitcher, our closer. I'm guessing with a name like Zinsmaster, Casey has never gone first or anything but last in her life, but we're happy that you're here, Casey. You're going to close us off nicely. Casey's a physical therapist assistant major from Vicksburg. She plans to enter the workforce as a PT right after graduation. Excuse me. She too is a Gold Key Scholar, a member of Phi Theta Kappa, and a member of the KCC. I'm sorry, a KCC soccer coach. No, you're an extracurricular soccer coach. Sorry. Casey is highly regarded by the faculty in the PT department. I recently ran into one of her professors in the elevator, and she told me that Casey picks up information very quickly and is what they affectionately call a duck. Calm and smooth on top of the surface of the water, but underneath, her feet are going like crazy. In other words, Casey maintains her composure even in stressful circumstances and situations. Her guiding question for her project: how can I create a dynamic recruitment tool to encourage college students to enter KCC's PTA program? And her advisor, Professor Tracy Wood, a physical therapy professor. Okay, you saw that right there.
Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well today. So for my project, I wanted to focus on how Professor Wood and I could create a recruitment plan to encourage more KCC students to apply to the PTA program. So before I did that, I focused on the number of students applying to PTA programs worldwide. And in 2018, there were 12,970 students in the United States applying to PTA programs. But 5 years later, there was only 10,293 students. So the numbers are steadily decreasing, whereas the job outlook is steadily increasing. Currently in 2025, there are 27,500 job openings in the PTA world, with the projected growth being over 19% over the next decade. So before I get into fully my project, I want to talk to you about the PTA program history. Specifically at Kellogg, the program started in 1973 and was the first program in Michigan. However, the first group of graduates in PTA history was in 1972, with programs around the country graduating over 4,000 more students. There's also an average salary of $28.24 per hour, which is approximately $68,080 annually. And there's so many different career options as a physical therapist assistant, such as skilled nursing facilities, inpatient, sports medicine, pediatrics, and you can also do traveling or aquatic therapy as well. So the first thing I did for my project was I focused on what other recruitment strategies colleges around the country were using, and then I took KCC strategies to determine what the best options were to create a new recruitment plan to recruit KCC students. So around the country, other colleges are going to high school career fairs. They're constantly posting on social media. A lot of places are focusing on low-income groups. They do on-campus events and create pamphlets. KCC currently, with the help of Professor Wood, is going to career fairs. The college itself posts on social media around the time PTA applications are due, and we also participate in volunteer activities throughout the community and to help those affected by natural disasters. In this image, you can see these are items that PTA students and faculty donated to those affected by the tornadoes recently in the fall. We donated items we're no longer using in the program, like old crutches and wheelchairs, and then students also donated necessities like water and food and all of those sorts of things. So with that information, I also looked into engagement strategies to engage college students and high school students to be productive and to enjoy what they're learning. So this is my new recruitment plan for KCC. So what KCC can implement. Currently at KCC, we have what we call a brew and blast. We do this in the fall and the spring, and it's an activity to get students engaged. And we play games, get free things, food, things like that. And if the PTA program participates in that, we can show our support and also try to talk to more students and get them involved in the program. And then one of my main ideas is field trips for students to experience the PTA program. You can advertise this as a day in the life of a PTA student, and those students can learn all the fun things we do in the program, not all the countless exams we take and the hundreds of hours we spend in lecture, but all the amazing things we do in lab, all the hands-on activities, and they can even learn about the clinical experiences we get to have. And then specifically at the career fairs that Professor Wood goes to with us, we can do PTA-themed trivia. We can have the high school and middle school students that we see play games and have trivia questions about that. And then representatives of the PTA program can give out PTA-themed prizes for participation, like pens, notebooks, and magnets. Overall, I think this will lead to an increase in the number of students applying to PTA programs, which, as we can see, is a necessity. And I think this could help Professor Wood not only recruit more students from KCC as a whole, but students around the state into this program. Thank you.
I just have a few closing remarks here. I'd like to acknowledge a few folks. If you're an honors faculty member, someone who's either taught an honors course or been involved with it, I'd like to recognize you right now. Is Ray here? Ray DeBruler? Right there in the back. Jessica Sullivan, where are you, Jess? There you go. Mitch Walensky, you've already seen him already. Tom Webster has been instrumental in helping design the honors program. And Michelle Wright, there you are, right there. So thank you. Let's give them a hand, please. Also like to recognize some folks who've been supportive on the administrative end. Kate Copeland, our chair of social sciences department. Where are you, Kate? Oh, right. And I already introduced you to Tom Duvall, manager of integrative learning. Tammy Douglas, director of instructional development and assessment. Where, Tammy, right there. Dr. Tanya Forbes is in Europe, I think, right now, visiting a new granddaughter. Is that true? Germany, okay. Dawn Larson, Dean of Arts and Sciences. Kristen McDermott, Director of Student Life. Yes, Patricia Wessner. Where are you, Trish? Right there. Department Assistant, Social Sciences and Integrative Learning. And is Michelle Williamson here? Hi, Michelle. Executive Director of the KCC Foundation. That's where the deep pockets are. That's what gives you all your scholarship money. So I just want to thank all of you who've been instrumental in supporting the honors program, and not only that, but supporting this crew, this cohort. I'd like to bring them back up onto the stage real quick. Come on up. Do you want to say something? Okay, come on up.
This is perfect. I just wanted to, I'm Kate Kaplan, and just thank and also truly give honor to the people that put this on. Professor Samra, Tom DeVault, and Trish Wessner, who is the foundation of our department and hold us all together. But I have a quote for you all as they're all coming up. Just listening to these students, there is just deep gratitude and thankfulness. Thankfulness is the beginning of gratitude. Gratitude is the completion of thankfulness. And thankfulness may consist merely of words, but gratitude is shown in actions. So for all of our faculty advisors and those that have truly supported, the flowers on the table are for you. To our students, this is perfect that you're all up here. I love that. We are truly thankful, and I know you have all shared the thankfulness for our faculty, your parents, everybody that have kept you here. And so your way of showing gratitude as you move forward and pass on from KCC is continue to do the amazing work in changing our community. So thank you for what you're doing and have already done and will do in the future.
So it goes without saying that it's a pleasure and a privilege to teach a group of students with such strong emotional intelligence and students who are motivated, self-disciplined. This is just a genuine group, a phenomenal cohort of honor students. I will miss all of them, so congrats. Last thing, thank you. Lunch is in the lobby. If you want to take some photos of this crew, you're welcome to right now. Simon, did you get a couple? He's doing that right now, okay. Okay, congratulations. We'll see you at lunch.